I'm so sorry. It was my mistake. I shouldn't have done that. Are you the type who always apologizes even if they're not wrong? Or are you a type of person who would resist apologizing at all costs, even when they know something went wrong or they're at fault? Welcome back to Ati's Conflict Studio. Today, we are going to discuss one of my favorite topics, apology. And after that, we'll discuss forgiveness in the next episode. Apology and forgiveness are two really important conversations that we can have in terms of conflict prevention and conflict resolution, whether it's at work, home, or in a romantic relationship. It can change the future of relationships or friendships, or it can change the dynamic of the families. So let's look into some of the reasons that apologizing may be a good idea or not. Some may say apologizing when we are wrong is just a moral or religious virtue. This is just the right thing to do, so we should go ahead and apologize. Some others say you should resist apologizing because when you apologize, automatically you are saying that you're wrong and it may attract a lawsuit. For example, some people may say, I got into an accident, I got out of the car, and I helped the other person but never apologized because the insurance company could use this against me. Although it's not necessarily correct, some people think that way. So there are a lot of reasons that people may or may not want to apologize. Sometimes it looks like a compassionate act. Some other times it may be a sign of weakness. As we will see, pretty much never it's a weakness to apologize. So let's look into some examples. Pam had to fire an employee due to performance issues as well as complaints by others and budget issues. Should Pam apologize for firing the employee? Second scenario. Pam and Jack had opposite political ideas and support different parties. Pam got very upset during what Jack calls a reasonable conversation. Should Jack apologize? Or should Pam apologize? Regardless of when we are going to apologize or not, let's see how we are going to do it in the first place. For example, I'm sorry you feel this way. What do you think of that apology? Or, I guess I'm sorry. Another example. I'm sorry I lashed out at you, but you were so unfair and made me so mad when you said I was irresponsible. I did my best, and you don't even acknowledge that. Lastly, mistakes were made. As we will see, none of these apologies are the right way. It can also sometimes be destructive or escalate the situation if the apology that's offered is not done the correct way. So today we'll discuss how we can apologize to make sure that our message is delivered properly and when to apologize. A good apology has multiple elements. One is acknowledgement. We should acknowledge what has happened. We can't ignore the cause of suffering and pain of others. We have to look into the other person's eyes and acknowledge what has happened. I acknowledge that I lied to you. I acknowledge that I was late and it wasted your time. Regardless of what you think morally or ethically is right, if you are delivering an apology, it's always good to define what has happened. Secondly, there should be sincere remorse. Let's say I am late and I think the other person is just being thin-skinned to think that being 10 minutes late is a big problem. Everyone should know about it. It's the norm to be late a little bit. Why are they so sensitive? If you are apologizing, you can't really look at it that way. It has to be sincere. It has to come from your heart. So, for example, I can say, I'm genuinely sorry for making you wait longer. After that, we can explain ourselves. And this is a tricky part because explanation can sometimes turn into justification, which again can have a negative impact. For example, I may say, I wanted to take you to the airport and I understand that you missed your flight because of me. But I want you to know that this was really important to me and it's not like, and I didn't prioritize your flight. It's that I just got a last minute call from urgent care about one of my family members. And it seemed very important to attend. And I checked in with the doctor and he said they needed someone to release my family. So I had to go there. And I'm really sorry. And lastly, reparation. Reparation means that I'm also offering something to fix the situation. It's not just an empty apology, just I'm saying something without really meaning it. You missed your flight and I'm so sorry. Let's look into the other options that you may have or other flights. What about you stay at my place so that we can go to the airport tomorrow together? Some sort of reparation is always helpful. So those elements of acknowledgement, remorse, explanation, not justification, and reparation are the elements of a complete apology. Now, let's look into when we should apologize. As we saw in the first scenarios that we discussed, sometimes people may have different opinions in each scenario about whether or not an apology is important or necessary. So, let's say there is some sort of wrongdoing that I have done, an act or omission that was wrong on my end. I did something wrong. And someone got hurt, got offended, or they lost something or missed an opportunity because of my mistake. That is when we have what we call a remorse apology, because there was a wrongdoing, then that wrongdoing caused real harm to someone. In that case, we offer an apology with all four elements. Sometimes I may think that I haven't done anything wrong. What did I do to fire this person? The company told me to do it. Or I had to fire them because we had budgetary issues. Or their performance had issues. I just had to do it. I didn't do anything wrong. Still, they can apologize if we think that we regret something that has happened because of what I have done. For example, in a lot of divorce cases, one of the spouses may want to get a divorce while the other party may not want to. So naturally, the divorce is going to be harder on one of the spouses. And that spouse may be hurt financially, emotionally, or they may lose a lot of support. Let's say someone has an alcoholic spouse. They want to end that relationship and they have a good reason to do it. It's not just because they're selfish or they are disregarding the other person's needs. It's just healthier to do it. In that case, although there's no reason for that person to apologize because they have made a mistake, without that wrongdoing or mistake, there is actual harm or injury to the other person who received that conduct or the person who was going through the divorce and they didn't want to. Now, we can also apologize based on what we call regret apology. So, of the four elements, we still acknowledge what has happened. I acknowledge that I had to terminate your employment, and that is very hard for you because you lost your health insurance and you have financial issues as a result of this. Now, the second part of the apology was to show remorse. This will be very short when we are discussing a regret apology because there was no wrongdoing. But instead of a pure remorse, we can show regret. That just so you know, it's not like I was indifferent or I didn't care. It actually was very hard for me to do it. And I wish I had a choice not to do it. And then we can go on with the explanation, not justification. For example, you were at fault, you weren't performing, it was your mistake, what else did you expect me to do? That's justification. Explanation can be something like, I wish we had the more bandwidth to work on improving your performance, and I really wanted to be supportive. Just so you know, it was not my sole decision, and I really tried hard to find other alternatives. But there was really no alternative, and we would run into serious performance issue had we continued with this employment. But it was very hard on the team as well to lose a valuable member like yourself. And then we may offer reparation. You may say, what reparation? I didn't do anything wrong. Why would I offer something? You can still offer smaller kind of gestures of kindness or compassion, such as, is there anything I can help to support you? For example, I've had cases that an employee had some medical appointments coming up and they were supposed to be terminated, but they needed that medical kind of coverage, medical insurance coverage for another 2 weeks or a month. And that employee has been put on administrative leave without pay so that they could have that benefit for a little bit longer, which was helpful to them. So that's the sort of reparation that we can do. Lastly, let's go back to our example about politics. People have different opinions. That can cause real issues sometimes. They may have different opinions about religious activities or political activities or different issues in life, social or else. In those scenarios, sometimes we may not think that I've done something wrong or that the person is hurt. The person is saying they're hurt, but they shouldn't be. Nothing has happened. They're just offended because I think the way I think. Even then, sometimes we apologize for what is called social harmony. Social harmony is more of an Eastern concept. In this case, we apologize not because something was done that was wrong or there was a mistake or someone was hurt. We're just doing that because we want to keep that relationship. It's very important for me to have my Thanksgiving dinner with my family, even when I have different opinions on social issues or different matters. So regardless of that, I want to apologize just because I want to keep the relationship. So it can look like this. I want you to know that I acknowledge that you are suffering or you're hurt by my views. And I want you to know that I really care about you. And I apologize because I think our relationship is very important. And I don't want to lose this friendship or relationship because of some political or social views that are different. I want to still have this friendship, which is worth so much for me, which is so meaningful for me. So can we move past this and still keep the relationship? And in this case, of course, it's not going to be a remorse or a regret because nothing really has happened in the view of the person who is offering the apology, but it always keeps the future of the relationship, or at least de-escalates the tension. So we learned There are 3 types of apologies. And by the way, some researchers offered more, but I'm just focusing on the main 3. Remorse, regret, and social harmony. In remorse, I have done something wrong and someone was hurt. In regret apology, I don't think I have done anything wrong, but someone was hurt. And in social harmony apology, I don't think I have done anything wrong and I don't think anyone got hurt. But I'm apologizing because I care about the future of this relationship or about my community. So, as we see, always these apologies can be helpful. Now, let's go back to the apologies that we offered and see what was wrong with them. I'm sorry you feel this way. This apology lacks acknowledging what has happened and also is invalidating their feelings. Basically, you are the one who is feeling this way. I don't think there's actually a reason for you to be upset. You're just being upset or you're hypersensitive. So this is not going to help anyone. Second, I guess I'm sorry. It's not very clear that you're sorry. It's just something that is very vague, very unclear, and I don't think that's helpful. So next time you want to apologize, I think it's good to address the issue head on. Say that, I'm really sorry about not being able to take you to the airport today. Spell it out. And some people may become impatient and say, this is very clear. We know what I'm apologizing about. Trust me, hearing that acknowledgement validates the other party's feelings and is very helpful. Let's look into the next example. I'm sorry I lashed out at you, but you were so unfair and made me so mad when you said I was irresponsible. I did my best, and you don't even acknowledge that. This is basically both an apology and putting the blame on the other party. So it's usually not received very well. What I recommend instead is this. You can always apologize and offer the first part that I'm sorry I lashed out. That was a mistake. I shouldn't have done it. And I just was having a bad day, for example, or that I was really overwhelmed with the work. Why don't we just go out and I get you a coffee or a drink? So some people may say, but that is also empowering that person who caused the issue that was the basis for me lashing out. They made me angry and now I'm apologizing for something that was initiated by them. Whereas they say they were the initial aggressor. Yes, you don't want to not address that, but this cannot be a compound statement. You can talk about those issues separately, but you can't mix it with your apology because it's going to dilute the importance of the apology that you are graciously offering. So what I would suggest is that you explain and apologize, and then in another meeting or where you get a chance next time, tell them that, by the way, I want to discuss how this feedback was brought to me. I appreciate the comments, but I don't appreciate to be undermined in a team meeting. So let's find a way to work this out because I want to set some boundaries here that this is not acceptable to me. You can still say it. You just don't have to do it with the apology in the same context. And lastly, an apology that's very well known in politics especially, mistakes were made. That's again vague. We don't know who made the mistake. What happened? We need to be clear about the harm that was caused or how this harm was caused, and basically be very clear and honest about our apology. Honesty is a key to create trust, and trust is a main reason that people accept apologies or offer apologies because they care about each other. So building trust is always the key. Thank you for listening to our podcast. In the next episode, we'll discuss the issue of forgiveness. Forgiveness is a very important skill set and is a lot of times misunderstood and viewed as someone did something wrong and now I am setting them free. We don't want to make it about them. When we'll discuss forgiveness, we will make it about the person who is forgiving and look at it through a totally different lens. So stay tuned and see you in the next episode. Thank you.